There is a lie you have been told since you were 5 years old. It's written in your school grades, whispered in office hallways, and praised in biographies of billionaires. The lie is this: if you are suffering, you are succeeding. But look around. Why is the person working 80 hours a week often the one stuck in middle management? Why is the exhausted parent often the one with the most chaotic home? If grit was the only requirement for wealth, the construction workers on the side of the road would be billionaires, and the single mother working 3 jobs would run the world. But they don't. Today, we are going to dismantle the cult of overwork through the story of 2 men, Thomas and Richard, and a drought that revealed the terrifying difference between motion and progress. Thomas wasn't just a farmer. He was a martyr. He didn't just work the land, he went to war with it. He believed that sleep was for the weak and that efficiency was just a fancy word for laziness. If he wasn't bleeding, he wasn't trying. But he was about to learn that nature doesn't care about your sacrifice. It only cares about your strategy. Thomas's farm was a monument to brute force. He woke at 3:45 a.m. By 4 a.m., he was manually tilling soil because machines lose the soul of the earth. He hauled water by hand because pipes make you soft. He was proud of his calluses. He wore his exhaustion like a medal. He looked at his neighbor, Richard, with disdain. Richard started at 8 a.m. Richard took lunch breaks. Richard looked happy. Thomas told his wife, Sarah, Richard is lazy. He'll fail when the hard times come. But the math didn't add up. Richard's harvest wasn't just equal to Thomas's, it was double. While Thomas was fighting the weeds one by one, Richard had planted cover crops that naturally choked the weeds out. While Thomas was sprinting, Richard was engineering. Thomas saw Richard reading a book on the porch and thought, what a waste of time. Richard was actually studying soil chemistry to save himself 100 hours of labor next month. This dynamic continued for years until the summer the sky turned white and the rain stopped. The Great Drought didn't just dry up the river, it exposed the flaw in Thomas's very soul. As the crops began to wither, Thomas doubled down. This is the sunk cost fallacy in action. He thought, if I'm failing, I just need to push harder. He stopped sleeping. He began carrying water buckets from a creek 2 miles away. 50 trips a day. His muscles tore. His vision blurred. He looked like a ghost haunting his own fields. He was working harder than any human being in the valley, yet his crops were dying faster than anyone else's. Across the fence, Richard did something strange. He didn't carry water. He spent 2 days doing nothing but tinkering with pipes. Thomas laughed deliriously through his cracked lips. Look at him. The crops are dying and he's playing with plastic tubes. But on the 3rd day, Richard flipped a switch. A drip irrigation system, built to target the roots directly, hissed to life. It used 90% less water than Thomas's buckets. Richard saved his farm in 1 hour. Thomas collapsed in the dirt, clutching an empty bucket. Thomas woke up in a hospital bed. The doctor said, exhaustion. But Thomas knew it was something worse. It was irrelevance. Richard visited him, not to mock him, but to offer the lesson that would save his life. He sat by the bed and said, Thomas, you treat your body like a tool to be used up. I treat my mind like a weapon to be sharpened. Richard explained the woodcutter's paradox. If you have 4 hours to chop down a tree, spend the first 3 hours sharpening the axe. You, Thomas, have been hacking at an oak tree with a butter knife for 10 years. You aren't noble. You are inefficient. And in this world, inefficiency is fatal. You are trying to use biology to solve a problem that requires physics. Thomas didn't go back to the fields immediately. For the first time, he sat at a desk. He applied the Pareto principle. 20% of his crops were yielding 80% of his profit. He stopped growing the difficult 80%. He automated the irrigation. He rested. The next season, he worked 4 hours a day. His yield tripled. He wasn't tired. He was effective. The lesson is simple. Stop glorifying your own burnout. Stop measuring success by how much sleep you missed. Ask yourself today, what is the heavy bucket you are carrying that could be replaced by a hose? Where are you being busy instead of being brilliant? Sharpen your axe. Because the world doesn't pay you for your sweat. It pays you for your impact.